were about to kick off a wild adventure. You won't believe how this all started with a fish package that actually held precious cargo, and it's no laughing matter. Just when Lao Qiu was about to take the guy away, he casually mentions he's related to the customs chief. Lao was thinking, oh boy, now that's a sticky. Lao Qiu wouldn't touch something that would end up biting him, but he couldn't resist flexing a bit, and the guy immediately reached into his wallet and pulled out a wad of cash. Lao Qiu played it cool, lifting his jacket, thinking, what are you up to? But his grin was unstoppable. After work, they skipped home joyfully. However, with so much cash, they had to stash some, making the bathroom ceiling a new trend. But too many guilty deeds make one jumpy. Even though he was making thousands daily, Lao Qiu's 5 were still crammed in a tiny house. Today, Sayoma visited to announce he was marrying Lao Qiu's sister. Lao Qiu whipped out a thin envelope as a congrats, then rummaged through his bag for ages before pulling out a shiny gold watch as a wedding gift. Seeing this, his wife stormed off, acting mad about his lavish spending, but really, she was just playing along with the drama. But no matter how careful he was, some things were just beyond his control. One day, his long-time annoying boss suddenly got super polite because their department was hit with a tip-off. They needed a scapegoat, and with colleagues having big families, Lao Qiu with just one son and 2 daughters was the prime pick. That night, colleagues suggested Lao Qiu spend money to resolve it, but had already spent a fortune on his position. More cash? Crazy. Lao Qiu knew it wouldn't last, but absent-mindedly checked the cameras as he left. And behold, he spotted something odd. He rushed to the surveillance area and found 2 sneaking in customs. They were either stealing something or up to no good. Lao Qiu, bursting with pent-up frustration, bravely moved to stop them. Even with 2 of them, Lao Qiu refused to back down, and believe it or not, one of the thieves picked up a chain. He started swinging that chain like a pro, while the other dude pulled out a knife, clearly looking to make things intense. But just then, help arrived, and suddenly the tables turned. The bad guys dashed for escape, and although Lao Qiu and his buddies gave it their all, they still slipped through. Lao Qiu wondered what kind of goods would make those guys willing to do anything. It didn't take long for him to discover the answer and the container a whole book back in the car. He encouraged his colleagues to sell the stash because no one would dare claim such dirty goods. Seeing his colleague hesitate, Lao Qiu pulled out all the stops to convince him, and yay. Not only did he agree to sell, but also lined up a buyer for Lao Qiu. But when he got home, Lao Qiu couldn't get a wink of sleep and was tossing and turning all night. Who wouldn't be on edge doing this? But seeing his family sound asleep, he realized he had no other options. The next day, his colleague took him to meet the mob boss for picking up the goods, but talking in the car was tricky. Wise old, he understood the situation, and as the car rolled away from the dock, the wheels of fate began to turn. Upon arriving at Oldie's place, he took a lighter to heat sample some of the stuff, and then sniffed it like a true connoisseur. He deemed it good stuff and proposed buying it for half the market price since, after all, it was hot goods. His colleague hinted to Lao Qiu to take the deal, and Lao Qiu easily agreed. But he still hadn't kicked the habit of chatting too much when he drank, and asked Oldie what his last name was. Oldie just shrugged it off, but the next second, Lao Qiu was clearly tipsy. Oldie didn't take it to heart, but Lao Qiu was itching for some satisfaction. The next day, he visited his dad, and found Lao Qiu who knew him and had helped before. He couldn't help but chuckle. This little twist gave Lao Qiu a chance to feel vindicated. But as Lao Qiu left his father's house, he was well aware he needed to tread carefully. After settling the previous good payment, Lao Qiu didn't forget to invite he out for a meal. Under the influence of his dad, he had no choice but to agree. But soon, Lao Qiu's chatter was out of control again. Lao Qiu told Oldie that seeing him was like love at first sight with a woman, and the cute girl next to him was rolling her eyes. Oldie had to gesture to his buddies to take Lao Qiu to the restroom, but on the way, they ran into his old boss from back in the day. His boss was, of course, making a scene, treating Lao Qiu like a punchline in front of everyone, but Lao Qiu was loving it. Lao Qiu raised a toast to everyone, but totally snubbed his boss. And then he cranked it up a notch by roasting his looks. His boss was so furious his face contorted, and he eventually snapped and lashed out. This was exactly what Lao Qiu wanted because the room was full of gangsters, and he felt right at home. Lao Qiu went to town kicking his boss and finally unleashed years of pent-up frustration. After the release, he tore off his shirt and slammed it on the ground. Those once gentle eyes had a fierce glint. He observed all of this and thought his uncle was a bit rough around the edges, but perhaps they were kindred spirits. As they grew closer, Lao Qiu found himself being treated less like a dog, and his family finally moved into a new place. The future may be stormy and uncertain, but as long as our family lived well, it was all worth the efforts we made. But as the casino business boomed, Lao Qiu began to lose his grip on sanity. One day, he went to the spot to unwind and bumped into a familiar face. This familiar face was the small-time boss who was all smiles outside, but couldn't care less about his old subordinate.